Minister, can you shed some light on reports that Saudi Aramco is increasing investments here in India?
Look, this is an ongoing process. All our collaborators, whether in the Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, United States, we have ongoing discussions with them, and we make investments outward and they make investments here. We've had a lot of proposals which are at a commercial stage, etc. But if your question is, will there be an increase in the investments from outside successful economic entities, my answer would be yes. You will appreciate I can't go into the specific details of what is being discussed. By the way, we have these discussions on with many countries in the world.
Were you having those discussions with Saudi Aramco here at the India Energy Week, Minister? And is it going to be in the downstream side of the business?
As I said, I don't speculate on where. There are ongoing discussions on across this canvas, if I may use that. I just had the minister from Sri Lanka here, and there are collaborations between India and others, India in Sri Lanka, etc. Those are discussions. You know, a platform like the India Energy Week provides you another opportunity, like the other international meeting, where people meet, discuss partly informally, they take it to an MOU stage, then they take it to the further stage. But yes, my answer is there is a lot of interest in India. That's partly due to the fact that the Honorable Prime Minister has taken some very far-reaching decisions. Out of the 3.5 million square kilometers of our sedimentary basin, we've freed up 1 million square kilometers, which used to be a no-go area. We've opened it up for investment. We're already seeing results there. ONGC just struck oil 35 kilometers off the coast of Kakinada. They're hoping to produce 50,000 barrels of oil per day in a few months' time. This is all ongoing work. Indian overseas investments are also very active. We are looking for acquiring assets outside. We have about $16 billion of investment in Russia. The Russians have $13 billion here.
Can I talk about that, Minister? Because the Russian delegation is very well represented here, but India bought less Russian oil in January. I believe the number was at a 12-month low. Do you feel that...
12-month low compared to what?
But do you feel that that is an inflection point, Minister? And is the political and the diplomatic pressure getting a bit too heavy as far as the tighter sanctions are concerned? Does that mean that you're going to withdraw somewhat from Russian oil?
No, we are way off the mark. I think the facts need to be corrected. We started with 0.2% in February 22. What you say is a low point. We still import more than 30% of our oil from Russia. So it's not a low point. It is a fantastically high point, number one. We don't decide whether we want to import from you or from someone else. Our oil companies have a very open and transparent system. We consume 5 million barrels of crude oil in a day. They float a tender, and the tender involves supply of energy at a point of importation. So when the tender is floated, if he is the cheapest, he gets the tender. If somebody else is the cheapest.
So you're doing what is most economic for India, regardless of the diplomatic and the political environment?
There is no diplomatic or political environment. I think whoever has produced this narrative don't know what they're talking about. The world is grateful to India for buying Russian oil. It's not that they don't want us to buy Russian oil. There may be price cap, there may be other restrictions. It's like this: if India, instead of buying Russian oil, if we start buying more of the Middle Eastern oil, the oil price will not be at 75 or 76, it will be 150. So that's not how it is. There's no political pressure, there is no diplomatic pressure. In any case, neither Mr. Modi nor his government have their minds wired to feel the pressure.
But if I may, Minister, there is a perception in international circles that by doing so, you are essentially funding President Putin's war in Ukraine and funding the war machine.
I don't know where you are coming from. Just ask the Europeans what they are buying from Russia. We are not doing anything of the sort, and this is not what the energy markets deal with. Let me explain to you. Once my my colleague went to Washington, he asked me, what are we doing? I said, if you're asked a question, tell them that Europe buys more in an afternoon than I buy in 3 months. And by the way, even when all this talk came, how is it that oil coming through the pipeline to Hungary was exempt? There's no funding of any machine. How was it that oil going through the pipeline to China was exempt? How is it that sales from the Far East to Japan were exempt? So I would respectfully submit to you and through you to whoever is producing the narrative that this is a lot of hogwash. So the reality is very different. There are still people in Europe, other countries buying large amounts of energy in different forms, and I don't want to open that discussion up. No one ever tells India what to buy, where to buy from, and we are not in the market to seek advice. As far as foreign policy is concerned, security policy and energy policy, we run an independent policy. And if somebody says the narrative this, that, they're entitled to their opinions.
Very good, sir. How comfortable is India with, let's talk about market conditions, Brent crude oil at current levels in the mid to late 70s?
Look, comfort is a term in the human, in a conversation. What is a reasonable price for oil? And again, it's a subjective issue. Somebody once told me, if it costs $12 a barrel to extract the oil, why should it be selling at 80? Well, certainly the people have put in money, investment, etc. My view is that there needs to be a healthy conversation between both the producers and the consumers in order to be able to make sure that there is predictability and stability in the oil markets. Why do I say this? For a long time to come, consumers will need conventional energy. They're making a transition very fast to biofuels, green hydrogen. But world, given the consumption appetite, will need the same. If the price of oil goes up unrealistically, by unrealistically I mean, let's say it crosses a point where it's a tipping point. And
do you feel concerned that there may be a risk of a price spike given the unfolding situation in the Middle East and the Red Sea?
Let me complete. You and I don't have to determine what that tipping point is. The fact of the matter is half the world is in recession. By recession, I mean technically quarter on quarter, decline. Okay? And the ones who are not in India are growing by 0.9%, 1%, etc. The rest of the world is flirting with this. So high oil prices invariably end up becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy, which means if you have high prices, there's a drop in demand. That's the point. I would feel comfortable. I represent a country which is the 5th largest economy in the world, which is going to be the 3rd largest economy. If the oil producers want to sell less oil, I mean, the oil production available in the global market was 102 million barrels a day. They cut the production by 5 million barrels. It's now 97 million barrels. But they don't sell, we'll buy from elsewhere. I just had a minister from a very important country here, who wants to join OPEC. But they've told OPEC that we will not abide by your production cuts. So it's a very fascinating game. I don't think it lends itself to journalistic generalizations. And let me tell you, we're very comfortable. Whether it is uncertainty in the supply routes, etc. Yes, we are concerned in the sense we will see the market, but we are not unduly worried about either availability or affordability or sustainability.
OPEC Secretary General Haitham Al-Ghais was here at India Energy Week. Minister, what was your message to him?
Well, my message, he's a friend of mine. He and I keep talking all the time. I was in Vienna just now with we had a strategic dialogue with OPEC, and he and I are in total agreement that, there needs to be a very healthy, dynamic dialogue. I not only had a bilateral meeting with him, I was with him last evening at the cultural show. I was in Vienna, and we are in touch with each other all the time. That's also OPEC's interest, to keep the markets stable.
Is India exploring an increase in natural gas and LNG imports?
No, our overall policy is that we are taking gas in the mix from 6% to 15%. We're not exploring, we are doing it. The domestic gas production goes up by 18% every year. It went up by 18% 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and now. So we are increasing our domestic production. We just signed a long-term deal with Qatar, which is a 20-year deal after 2028. So we need more energy. We are importing more. We are producing more. So it's and our rate of growth of demand is 3 times the global average. In the next 20 years, 25% of the increase in demand will come from India.
And finally, but importantly, Minister, India's 2030 and then longer term 2050 renewable energy targets, how confident are you that they can be met? How will they be met and how will they be financed?
They will be met totally. We are one of the few countries in the world which meets its international commitments and before time. So whatever targets have been set, let me even go to the net zero target. Although the target is 2070, but all our oil companies, which are the major ones in the game, their net zero targets are 2035, 2040 and so on. So we are well on the way of meeting our targets and we'll meet them all before time.
And how will they be financed, sir? What is the plan?
It's an ongoing process. How are the finances? We generate our own money. We are one of the largest we have one of the large refining capacities. We import a lot, we export a lot, so that's not an issue.
Minister, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.